Is there a slider or a volume that we can?
So into the soundboard, I don't have a direct.
Okay, so it's just here. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me turn this
David's got
other.
it.
The only other option would be movies. If you have headphones.
There we go. It's just like volume. It was so soft on that video. Okay. I think it's good.
That'd be good.
We'll
We'll just be getting started in a few minutes here, folks, because we ran just a tad late on
our closest
the service.
I can blow that up so the words are nice and big.
I might do it. I might need to do it, but yeah.
We'll start with that. Yeah, I'll just stand over here. Sure. Okay. And I just didn't finish recording.
Ideally, if you wanted to hold it instead,
Yeah, I'll do
I
that.
have wireless too.
And I
Yeah.
It's never like
Yeah.
they never stay in the same place.
That's true.
And I've never read one. I've seen the one I did read on my Kindle store. One of and it was 800.
And I don't recognize her if I
Yeah.
Like, if you could go back to one day and get that one which you don't back and pick up sometimes you have to go back to work. Man,
You get tired of me going.
yeah, this was right. Yeah, it's
You're
been
not
all
what
better.
Well, it is, but thinking about
So it's pretty good. There is a cosmological theory behind this, that multiverse.
You do have some,
So
because I have to tell you about.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming to Forum. Our speaker is using the facilities real quick, so I'll just get some announcements out of the way. Does everyone know about the upcoming event this Wednesday?
Yes.
Here's a little flyer that you probably saw in your email with the Zoom link. It's a Zoom-only meeting. And some folks that brought us the Project 2025 symposium last year. That was Dr. Jeff Scholes, along with Leanne and others. They're back, and they have connected with some folks in Minneapolis. One of which, I'm a little biased, but one of which in tiny print is my sister. My baby sister. She is pretty active in the protest space. And she's been a resident of Minneapolis for a long time. And so naturally she's involved there too. She is an American Sign Language interpreter. And so she tends to work with a lot of folks in the area, including in protests. So yeah, she'll be one of the panelists. And so please jump on Wednesday night. That's at 6 o'clock. It'll be a really good discussion. And our own Mallory Everhart, you remember her? She has relocated in that area too. And a couple of ministers in the area too. So it'll be a great talk, I'm sure. It'll be pretty vital for all of us that want to know how to get involved. Taking a deep breath, and what does this look like when it comes to our city, or Denver, or wherever. So it'll be a good talk. Let's look ahead in the coming weeks. Yes, a question.
You have to go in there and register anything ahead of time?
Yeah, that's what I was
So you can click on
I think it's just a click. It's a
Oh.
private link, and so
All right.
it's not being advertised for safety reasons, except for within our walls, basically. So yes, Amy, it's a direct link. Yeah. So good question. Good question. Let me look at my upcoming schedule and just give you an idea of what is coming. So next week we have off. There's no Faith Formation Hour next week. That's Fat Sunday. We'll have our pancake dinner after church, so you won't want to miss that. And then the following week, that's the 22nd, February 22nd, we'll have Nushin, and I'm going to totally botch her last name, Sadakasamimi. Okay, Nushin is the filmmaker, if you remember from last year, that came in and did some recording of our service, and she was quite taken with our church and our pastor. she's putting together a documentary, and she's got a rough cut, as I understand, and so she will be here in Forum to show clips, highlights of the film, so that'll be really fun. Talk to the filmmaker directly about the process, about the film. You won't want to miss that. That's the 22nd. The week after that, we have Ariana Platten, and she is a local author, a Unitarian minister as well. She's written a book called Rites and Rituals, so that will be a fun talk, and that is on March 8th. So we got some announcements out of the way. So today I want to give a shout out to Brienne Cornish, who is a relatively new member. You've probably seen Brienne's pronouns, by the way, are she and her, and she has been a very vocal member of our choir, and so we are very honored to have her. I just have to say also that I reached out to Brienne, gosh, probably only 4 days ago about this forum, maybe 5. Anyway, I'm extremely grateful that Brienne stepped up so quickly to jump into forum and bring us what she has for us today. So Brienne, somewhere here I have an intro. Brienne Cornish is a former Christian minister. She has a Master of Divinity. She now works as a cybersecurity architect and is a lifelong learner herself, drawing on her journey across faith traditions and her involvement in multi-faith, LGBTQ plus affirming community. Brienne brings a unique blend of spiritual insight, analytical thinking, and a creative expression to guide this exploration today of the wisdom through sound and story. The title of her talk is Buddha, Jesus, and Muhammad in Dialogue. One song, 3 voices. So please welcome Brienne C.
Well, thank you, Rob. I appreciate the opportunity to share, and I hope you don't leave with regret today. So, where do I start with this? So, in the book of Hebrews, the epistle to the Hebrews found in the New Testament, it opens up with a verse. Long ago, God spoke to our fathers through the prophets in many ways, diverse ways, and diverse messages. And that's where this topic we're going to have this discussion. And it's a discussion, just so you know. I didn't have time to prepare a lecture, 4 days, but I think we're going to make this participatory as much as possible. It starts with this fundamental reality is that if there is one true God that exists, and there's an if there, because I have friends who are skeptics, who are atheists, who have questions, who are not answered. I get all that. And so I don't try to enforce my worldview on anyone. I can speak for what I believe, but I cannot say what you believe. I think that God is, if he exists, or she is big enough for your questions. And if she is speaking, if he is speaking, he's speaking all over the world at all times to all people groups, and our job is to listen for that voice. And that's where this topic is born out of. You're getting 2 handouts. Here's what I'm going to ask, okay? One of these sheets is a lyric sheet. Please don't look at that, okay? It's all right. It won't hurt you. Don't look at it yet, okay? The reason why I'm asking that is because I'm going to play the songs for you, and you're going to see the lyrics on the screen. I want you to experience that in real time, rather than reading ahead. After the song is done, feel free to look at it for reference, okay? Just don't, it's for your experience. The second handout, feel free to look at. This is just for you. Let me give you the background of where this is coming from. I love to learn, and one of the things that I did about 2 years ago, I bought a subscription to called The Greatest Courses, and they changed the name to Wondrium, and then they switched it back. No one liked it. But essentially, the premise of the corporation was, let's go find in every field the world's best expert or best teacher of that subject, mathematics, geometry, astrophysics, whatever it may be, and let's record them, and let's just make it accessible to everyone who doesn't have money to go to Harvard or Yale or all these places. And so I download the subscription and just begin to listen, like whatever topic came across my fancy. And one of the courses is exactly the handout that you have there. He teaches, this person's especially, Mark Moose, I believe is his name. He comes from Texas. He's a fellow Texan, so, he's, somewhat trustworthy. But his whole life study is Asian studies. And he has a book, and he has this particular topic where he holds Confucius, he holds Muhammad, he holds Buddha and Jesus, and he studies them in parallel. And he talks about their history, where they came from, their context. And it's very interesting to see not only where they diverge, but more importantly, where they converge in interesting ways. And so I finished that course about a year ago. And it made a huge impact on my life. And it left me with this reality is that there is more in common between Buddha, Jesus, and Muhammad than there are differences. And we live in a world that loves to focus on differences and fight about those differences rather than seeing what they had in common, what they were trying to say at their core. So I'm a cybersecurity architect, past life as a minister and pastor. Long story, don't have time for it. All that to say is I have come to realize the power that AI has given us. And regardless of where you stand on the whole AI question, is it good, is it bad, is it killing our planet? Those are all good questions, and we can talk about them, but not today. All to say is, I work for AWS, which is a company Amazon owns, and my primary job is how to integrate AI into corporations and business in a secure manner. So I understand how the technology works, and I understand its power, particularly as it relates to language and language studies. So about a week ago, I just had an idea pop in my head, and architects tend to have ideas that just come out of the blue. It's triggered by something, it's random. But the idea was, I wonder if I could use AI to pull quotations from the Buddha, Jesus of Nazareth, and Muhammad, and centralize it, and I could just completely summarize their teachings in a very unique way. I won't tell you about the methodology that I used, but what I do have for you is references. So you can go do your own homework. You can go pick up the writings of the Buddha, the Muhammad, Jesus. You can do your own whatever. That's fine. Check the research. Always check AI research, okay? Because sometimes it makes it up, all right? Keeping you on your toes. And what I did then is once I took the exact quotes and sayings of each, and we can talk about each one, and we will. And Rob, keep me honest on time, okay? Because what we're going to do is we're going to play a song, and then I just want you to listen to it, experience it. These are the quotations of that actual teacher. Just listen to it. And then we're going to talk about what arises, what questions, what thoughts come up in your heart, in your thoughts, okay? Take a little moment, talk about it, and then we're going to go to the next one, okay? That's what our session is going to be. Our time's going to be done before we even know it. So with that, I believe I've talked about everything. I've told you how I'm going to do it. And so what I did is I put it into a song. And once again, I used AI to do that. We're not going to have time to talk about how I did it. It's just, I did it, okay? Trust me. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and show you the first song. The first song comes from the teachings of the Buddha. Buddha lived about 500 years before Jesus of Nazareth. I don't have time to summarize the story, that's why I gave you the handout. So with that, I just invite you to listen, watch the words on the screen, listen to the music, and then we'll chat about it. Sound good?
Yes. Yeah.
All that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. I teach only suffering. And the end of suffering will tremble with violence. Life is dear to all, considering others as oneself. should neither kill nor cause another to kill. He abused me, he struck me, he feared me, he robbed me, and those who harbor such thoughts, hatred is not a peace. Hatred is never appeased by hatred. When on hatred alone is hatred at peace. In gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Protecting oneself, one protects others. Protecting others, one protects oneself. Factual, true, beneficial, spoken at the proper time, with sympathy for living beings. Do not go by reports, by traditions, by scripture, by logical conjecture, or by the thought, this continent is our teacher. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so let one cultivate a boundless heart toward all peace. Even if bandits were to carve you up, limb by limb with a sword, remain full of compassion, with a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate. Oh.
Okay, so now you can look at the lyric sheet for reference, because I'm sure it kind of words scroll by so fast. We need some more lyric sheets back there. Okay. So what I want to do in the next about five minutes, because we don't have too long here, what I want to do is just simply open it up for observations, because things are going to hit you at different orders. Questions are going to arise. But what observations do you have about the words of the Buddha and the messages that he taught?
I just have a really quick question.
Okay.
When you say the words of the Buddha, where did you pull those from?
Fantastic. So the question was, where did the words come? Where did I source the material? That's a great question. If you look at the footnotes on the back of the page, I have citations. You can do your own research. I am not an authority on the Buddha at all. Okay, so what I did is in a series of questions, I asked AI, I said, okay, as a general principle, what text from Buddhism do the majority of Buddhists recognize as authentic to his teachings? Because once again, I don't have any further reference to be able to authoritatively say, but generally I found that AI is about 80% good on questions like that, kind of Google searching, So I took that, and then I said, okay, now let's select those quotations and let's order them. But once again, I have citations, so you can feel free to do your own research, talk to an authority on the Buddha. If we get to Jesus of Nazareth, yes, I will school you on that subject. But anyway, next question, observation, thought.
Observation. Hatred is never appeased by hatred.
Hatred is never appeased by hatred.
I think that's what we're going to see as a central message in all three of those.
If only. And yes, it ties perfectly with what Leanne said this morning. Yes. What other thoughts, observations? Yes.
It feels very familiar message-wise, but a little bit more cerebral, intellectual approach versus a feeling approach.
Yes.
So I'm curious if that's truly the way the teachings of Buddha are structured, or is that like the AI model of how it approaches? So as we go through the others, then maybe I'm more familiar with them. I'm curious to see.
So I tried in my structure to say, give me exact verbiage. Don't format. Because once again, I tried to keep it as strict to, I don't want you telling me, interpreting for me what Buddha said. I want you to tell me exact quotations. So I expect as if you go through those citations, you'll actually find most of them are almost word for word. Yeah. And yes, Buddha did tend to be more cerebral and his more proverb-like in his teaching. Yes. Yes.
But he did say that as the basis of the Four Noble Truths, that all is suffering.
All is suffering, yes. Four Noble Truths, yeah. Which, ironically, if you take the Beatitudes, which we don't have time to get to with Jesus of Nazareth, the second one is, blessed are they that mourn. So mourning was very central, suffering, central to Jesus' message. But we're jumping ahead. Yes, Beryl?
Somewhere in the attic recesses of my memory, I think I remember hearing that some scholars speculate that during the first 30 years of Jesus' life, he may have traveled further into the Middle East and have been exposed to Buddhist teachings. Is that anything that anyone has ever heard of? It might be part of my imagination.
Yes.
Is there any documentation one way or the other?
Okay. Veril, that is a great observation. Just so you know that I was raised in a very fundamentalist version of Christianity that just basically said the Bible dropped out of heaven and it's like, oh, it's perfect. Believe it all. It's history. I approached the Bible with a very academic first approach in the sense of when I see the early narratives about Jesus of Nazareth, I see a lot of interpretive scribal additions, contradicting stories, and that tells me we don't know much about the early life of Jesus. And that's exactly what this professor taught Mark Moose. He says, we don't know much about Jesus at all from his first 30 years. So it's very likely that Jesus could have, we just don't know. Now it's interesting you bring that up because here I do have a working theory on this. The story goes that Jesus of Nazareth, they fled to Egypt when he was a child. We don't know the origins of why, but that is something most traditions agree upon, that he came from Egypt. There was a large Jewish contingent in Egypt. We know that historically. They had their own Jewish communities in different places, but there was a large contingent of Judaism within Alexandria, Egypt, which was the cultural hub during that day. So if Jesus grew up in Alexandria, Egypt, he would have had access to the Library of Alexandria. Not only that, it was part of the Silk Road, and if Buddhism was sending missionaries out, Alexandria absolutely would have been on their list. So is it possible that Jesus had conversations with Buddhist monks and missionaries? There's more weight against that argument than for it. I'm sorry. It's highly probable that it could have happened. We can't prove it, but it's logical and plausible from what we do know. Yeah. What else?
The line, considering others as yourself, is like love your neighbor.
Is that not the golden rule to a T?
Yes.
It is the golden rule.
It is.
Yeah. What else? What other observations? Rob, please keep watch the time.
Yeah.
Tell me when I need to move on.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Who's next?
Joseph of Arimathea.
Yes.
Who was related to Jesus.
Joseph of Arimathea.
And wasn't he like a shipping person? That was his career.
That's a good question.
Well, that's something that I have read in I thought credible sources, from credible sources, which would also, the Egypt connection is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But it could have been he bumped up with when Joseph was Arimathea was going on this. He was a trade ship or something. Very wealthy.
Absolutely.
Anyway, something to.
What's really interesting is when you study Christianity, the versions of Christianity that exist in the East. So if you look on a map, think about a world map. You have the Middle East, you have Jerusalem, and then you have India, West India, which is where the Buddha was born. all the churches that exist between that corridor, they're Orthodox churches, sometimes even pre-Orthodox. Their versions of Christianity are very, very different than Protestant Christianity or even Catholic Christianity in the West. And they're also very, very ancient. And it's very interesting to observe where they converge with the Western tradition and where they diverge. We don't have time to go into that, but there's a lot to learn from there about alternative possibilities of what early Christianity was like. Yes?
Yeah, I love the idea for myself of the pairing of the words with the music as a form of meditation.
Yes. Meditation comes straight out of the heart of Buddhism.
I could see that being useful, but that joining of the music.
Very soothing.
Well, and that's why I did it, because music hits me in a different realm, headspace, than just reading academically does. Yes?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, but what struck me is that it starts out as the mind is everything. So I expected that everything would be, the next ideas would be about mind and thinking.
Right.
But then it goes into feeling. And
So
there seems to be both are referenced, but the mind gets kind of set to the side, and now we focus on the feeling.
So disclaimer here, once I took all the quotations, once I got the quotations, what I did is I asked AI to take these quotations and rearrange them, because none of it was like, it's literally just snippets of quotations, okay? I said, take these quotations and structure them logically from a more foundational that we all agree upon. Less you have to conjecture, and then build upon them from there, so that the music is a journey. We start here, and then each idea builds upon the other. It helps us understand more of a flow of thought or a theology of the Buddha. So, yeah.
Reminds me, sorry, we just updated the version of our phones from 6 to 24. So if you look on the icons on your phone, it stacks things in that order.
Yes. Yeah. In the tech world, we're always trying to figure out, how do humans actually think, and let's get tech to actually work like that, rather than getting humans to become robots.
Indeed.
Okay, Rob, do we need to move on to the next song?
Yeah, we probably should.
Okay, so the next song is going to be Jesus of Nazareth. Now let me set this one up, okay? This is important. I opted to use the Gospel of Thomas for this one. Let me explain this. The Gospel of Thomas is not canonical. It's not found in your normal Bibles, okay? Why? Because around 300 AD, the church decided we should decide which of these stories about Jesus are official and which ones we either don't trust or don't like. That's fishy to me as an information security architect, because who decides what's official? Who controls the list controls the future, right? All we know is that there were many, many stories about Jesus of Nazareth passing around in many ways. There were many versions of Jesus in the first couple hundred years of Christianity. As a historian, we do not have absolute certainty. We just have probability. And then a lot of bias, depending if you are a believer or not. All that to say is, from a purely academic perspective, the same criteria that you would use to say the Gospel of John belongs in the Bible and the Gospel of Thomas does not is insanity. They arose at the same time, same dating period, same groups. It sounds like more that Orthodox, and I say that more like a certain version of the in-group of Christianity, decided, we don't like this version of Jesus. We're just going to push it off to the side. Okay? All that to say is, you already know the story of Jesus from the Synoptic Gospels. You've read it. You've heard it. So I decided to take the Gospel of Thomas and just say, once again, let's see what this version of Jesus of Nazareth, what this story about Jesus, what was going around, because it is a version of Jesus that is historically plausible. All right? Any questions about that before we move on? Okay, let's move on. I've called this one the Messiah.
Those who search for the wicked wonder and see what was hidden within. What you uncover will set you free. When your eyes learn how to see. The kingdom is not in the sky. It is not in the distant place. It is within you and before you, spread upon the earth unseen. There is light inside every person, and when it shines, if you bring forth what is within you, it will give you life. If you hide what is within you, it will bring you death. Do not trade your soul for signs to unbelieve will banish you. Not for sin, not for power, the poor in spirit know the path where hidden treasure grows. The way is open by compassion. The path is walked in peace. When the two are made to one, when inside and outside me, when high and low become one body, and the broken rise to stand. When you walk without shame, like a child in the light, then the kingdom will be known, not as fear, but as over all things, from stone to star to earth and flame, split the wood and I am there. If the stone and you will find me, what lives will never taste of death, for life itself becomes your breath. Do not rule by force or by law, do not store what should be shared. The one who gives without command already walks in the kingdom. The harvest grows where hearts are open, and truth is seen by your blood.
Okay, fun fact on this one. When I formed the prompt for the song, what kind of instruments to use, because you can specify instruments and stuff like that, I said, collect for me the types of instruments that existed during first century Palestine. So we selected those instruments. I said, use these instruments as you construct that. So just also from a musical perspective, probably this would have been very similar to a style of music that would have been around during Jesus of Nazareth's travels. So with that, observations, questions, thought. What did it stir within you? Yes?
Two things. We went to UCCS to a play last night.
Okay.
The play reflects exactly what you just did.
Okay, you went to a play, yeah.
What you have created is God's love.
Very interesting.
It's a reflection.
Interesting. That's a great play. All right.
Found that the conflict between the Buddha and the Messiah, the Buddha's contemplation, this is revelation.
Interesting. Contemplation versus revelation. And is there, how big is the gulf between those two? We had a hand back here, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, probably a couple decades ago, and I still have it in my library, I have a lovely copy of the Gospel of Thomas, a particular translation.
Yes.
And what I remember from it is that it seemed more like Zen koans, that you couldn't quite figure out what that was.
Yes, it's unique.
It was very unique. It was a very different style than all the other Gospels, which may have been why it got left out too.
One of the interesting things about the Gospel of Thomas is that there's no story. There's no life of Jesus. There's nothing. It's nothing but a collection of sayings. It's like the Book of Proverbs, something like that. But you notice that there are some similarities. There's some exact same phrases that are used in the Sermon on the Mount, found in Matthew chapter 5, 6, and 7, and the Gospel of Thomas. So they weren't wherever the Gospel of Thomas originated, it shared some of the common traditions going around of Jesus' sayings. Yes. What else? What next hand? Yes.
The Q, is the Q the beginning source of all of the Bible? I think there's a Q.
Okay, yeah, the Q source. We could spend weeks talking about Q. Q is one of those, we know it existed, we just don't have a copy of it. Essentially, this is linguistics. Just for the record, I studied Greek and Hebrew in seminary. And if you don't, if you ever have that ambition, think again. No, it's good because I didn't have to learn how to code, so it all works. It's all language. But having said that, Q, the canonical Gospels of Luke and Matthew and Mark, they both share quotations written in Greek that are exactly identical. And here's the thing about Greek. Greek word order is really irrelevant. It's because the actual words themselves tell you whether it's a verb, subject, object. It tells you all places. Whereas English, word order is everything. So when you come across a Greek snippet where the word order is exact, it's a quotation. It's a citation. It was copied. And when you have Luke, Matthew, Mark saying the exact same thing, you're like, they copied it from somewhere. That's Q. We don't have a copy of Q. We don't know what they were pulling from, what document they were sharing. We just know that it existed.
But couldn't Thomas have copied from Q?
Exactly. And that shares that there was a common history between even Thomas and all those. Yeah. So, yes.
I just want to say that using the Gospel of Thomas just so speaks to my heart because it so parallels what I feel and I think is lacking sometimes in the Christian teaching positions.
There's a spirituality to the Gospel of Thomas, a dimension that seems a little bit not there in the synoptics, for sure. Yes?
I was struck by the frequency of the mention of kingdom.
Yes. Yeah, kingdom, you cannot separate Jesus of Nazareth from that word. It's just there. But we could talk about what he meant by kingdom.
Right.
Yeah. Because I love the fact that we translate let your kingdom come. Because I think that's much more close to what Jesus was actually visiting than what Rome would say with that word. Yes. What else?
really spoke to me, and I agree with what she's saying, was your kingdom is within, and it's what you have within and you shine out. It's just love and life, and I love this.
And that idea is clearly in almost every synoptic gospel too. Jesus taught the kingdom of God was within you, that you were where the kingdom comes. It wasn't an earthly political authority that he was trying to set up. He was trying to change this, which is exactly what the Buddha taught. You can't change anything out there about the world, and if you try, you're going to suffer.
Buddha did this.
Yes. So Buddha said, change how you're thinking and how you're, because everything is right here, especially in a world where you were the oppressed one. You had no power. You had no leg up. There was no hope that you'd ever be anything but a slave. How do you get happiness in a world like that? You have to do something here. Yeah. What else?
So, kind of going off of that, Buddha's talking about how you were living and changing yourself for your life.
Yeah.
Listening to this, the Messiah passage, it feels very much with the end in mind. Like all the talk about the kingdom, finding the treasure, opening the door. It's less what we're doing now. It's like all this for the end. It feels more final, or at least a focus on something.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it didn't strike me that way. And to me, it was like, rather than wait till the end when there's a kingdom, it's within you. It's on earth. It's not later in heaven. So to me, it felt very current or now, or the emphasis like enjoy it, be there, improve, whatever now, not for some later glory. That's how it struck me.
I'm deeply indebted to Bishop N.T. Wright. His writings, he very much got me to think outside of the Protestant version of Christianity that I was raised within, because I was really taught that it's all about where you go in the afterlife, heaven, and he began to say, no, if you read Jesus within this context, he was trying to say, heaven is here now. It's not escapism. And by the way, that's our political problem right now. We have a whole MAGA contingent. Can I say MAGA in here? Sure. We have a whole MAGA contingent. Their whole philosophy is God's going to come and we're just all going to leave. That's why burn it all down. They don't care. So theology matters. Yes. What else?
See, I think of music too as a kindle. Because you have music or whatever, and you're listening in your heart.
Yeah.
And it comes out in your voice, and it goes out, radiates, and touches other people. So that's like, and heaven and hell is here. We make it, I think we just make it on ourselves on earth. There's no up or down or nothing like that.
I think it was perfect how we ended the first service singing Word of God. It ties into this amazingly well. Singing as a one body, facing the Spirit.
And if you ever want to study the doctrine, who wants to study the doctrine? Dr. Bart Ehrman wrote a book about hell. If you can Google it, look it up, or come find me, I'll send you the name. It's a fantastic academic study of the development of the doctrine of hell across time. And we have not always believed the same thing. And so you have to put Jesus' words in context with what he understood, not how Dante did. Exactly. Meadow, I saw your hand.
I think one very fascinating variable between Buddha and Jesus and the other key religious figures throughout history is that they were taught, but the teachers themselves that proved to be the most important and the most lasting was life itself and the various aspects of their lives that they led and come to similar conclusions that overlap between them, in that life in its variables are just the most persistent teachers, and if we pay attention, you always get something in the end.
That's a good observation. I know some of y'all couldn't hear what I was saying, but the very important thing that she was trying to say, correct me if I'm wrong, was that one of the common denominators in some of the greatest moral teachers is that they used daily life, things, stories, parables out. They learned from creation, from nature itself, saw the patterns that were there, pulled them out, and said, what can we learn about our lives as just from watching the earth? I hope I paraphrase that well.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, we're about to have to go to the next song, but one more thought.
Just a quick question about the use of the word kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
I've read some Buddhism, not a lot, but I wonder, I don't remember the Buddha talking about kingdom. And that to me suggests other than what we have now. We get rid of that king, and maybe that's part of why the message doesn't resound as so much as looking within.
It does. Yeah, and probably the word kingdom is a really good word to tap on if you want to say, if you were to sit Jesus and Buddha down for a conversation right now, where would they probably disagree? And probably around that would be a great word to trigger a good conversation. Yes.
So I just want to respond to that because when I think about those two, the Buddha was a prince.
He was.
He came from kingdom and he left it behind.
Yes.
So I think because he consciously left it, he would leave it out of his teachings. Whereas Jesus was embedded in the Roman Empire.
Yes.
And therefore he has to address it.
He was a peasant.
Therefore he has to address this kingdom versus that kingdom because that's the main he's addressing.
If you have not taken the time to learn the story of the Buddha, drop everything and listen to the story. Just the story of the historical Buddha, the best we can reconstruct. Once again, from history, it's once again, what's history, what really happened versus what. Just listen to the story. It is an amazing story.
Well, where do you find it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Google.
Find a trusted source. I'm just going to leave it there. Okay. We do need to move on because of time. We're going to skip forward 500 years to Arabia, to the Prophet Muhammad. There is so much conversation we could have about this, but I would piggyback off what I just said with the Buddha. Before you judge anything Muhammad said, you need to understand the story and the world that he grew up and lived within. Because walking in his footsteps, his shoes, the struggles, what was the dynamics, it impacts everything else that arose from him. With that, I will go ahead and just play the music, and I'm going to let you watch and I quoted the Qur'an verbatim here, okay? And once again, I cherry picked. Once again, I took snippets of the Qur'an and I rearranged them in a logical progression. Somebody could say, well, you're taking things out of context. Absolutely. I'm not a Muslim. I don't understand Islamic theology. I'm not that person. But still, I'm quoting him verbatim. And you have to decide what you believe about the statement itself as it stands. With that, this song is probably my most favorite, so buckle up.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. And your God is one God. There is no God but Him. The most compassionate, the most merciful. My mercy encompasses all things. Your Lord has decreed mercy upon Himself. God is gentle with His servants. God created you from a single soul. We have honored the children of Adam. God does not wrong people at all, but people wrong themselves. God wishes to lighten your burden, for humanity was created weak. God does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. There is no compulsion in religion. To each of you, we have prescribed way. We made you nations and tribes so that you may know one another. The most noble of you in the sight of God is the most righteous of you. If God had willed, He would have made you one community. But He intended to test you in what He has given you. So compete with one another in good works. Whoever believes in God and does good works, they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. Whoever does good, male or female, and is a believer, we will surely give them a good life. Indeed, God commands justice and kindness, and generosity toward relatives, and forbids immorality and oppression and transgression. God loves those who act justly. Do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. Be just. That is nearer to righteousness. Good and evil are not equal. Repel evil with what is better. Whoever saves one life, it is as if they have saved all of humanity. Say, oh my servants, who have transgressed against themselves, do not despair of the mercy of God. Indeed, God forgives all sin. Indeed, it is He who is the most forgiving, the most merciful. We have not sent you except as a mercy to the worlds.
Curious. Raise your hand if that was not what you expected. Okay, all right, just curious. A little over half. Okay, all right. So let's talk about that. Before I do, infomercial. I'm not trying to sell you books, okay? I have written a couple books, though. This one is called Rebel Grace. This one is essentially the Sermon on the Mount. But it's written for people who don't accept Jesus as their starting point. It's more based in philosophy, and we can talk about the importance of that. This one is the Theology of the Gospel of John, and it's my most recent book that I published at Christmas time last year. I'm going to pass these around. Feel free to look at them. You can purchase them on Amazon. I'm not trying to make money. I'm just saying that they're there. Okay? So with that, having listened to the song on the Prophet Muhammad, quoting words from the Qur'an, what thoughts arose within you about the statements that were said in question? Oh, 3 hands. Let's start in the back.
Sounds very Old Testament, and it's often noted that Islam and Judaism have a lot in common, and Christianity is sort of an outlier in this regard. But I'll just say that also these are not meant to be his words. He is just a vehicle.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. He absolutely said those were words given, from God, not his words. Yes, I am just the messenger. That was his statement. Yes.
Yeah, it strikes me as being a very communal, societal message. He's talking about different tribes. He's talking about relatives. He's talking about addressing sort of tribal, interpersonal
Yes.
relations.
A lot of interpersonal, societal issues trying to bring structure and healing to. Yes. Yes, so we have this hand, and we'll come over here. Yes.
They use the pronoun we, and maybe you touched on that a little bit, that it's God, but I wanted to know who the prophet was hanging out with that was we.
Honestly, that's a great question, and I can't answer that from a Muslim theology. So.
What was the question?
The question was, why was the word "we" used, and what is it reference to? So I do know that in Asian cultures, "we" was often used in the superlative to majesty, divinity. So it's very, well, you think about the book of Genesis, let us make man in our image. It's got that Babylonian, feel to it. Yes?
Well, no, I was just going to say that sort of the same thing. They were saying that it seems more outward focused. I feel like Jesus is more internal, soul, bringing things in, and the Qur'an seems more outward focused.
This is a good point. The observation for those who couldn't hear in the back is that the words of Jesus Nazareth in the Gospel of Thomas seem very interior, very contemplative, whereas the words pulled from the Qur'an seem very external focused. Yes.
Most outward focused.
Outward focused. It's a good observation. Yes.
2 words for me that kept popping up was mercy. So I kind of got a theme of like contrition, mercy, and then the word most. I kept seeing the word most a lot in terms of like God. God is the most merciful or the most.
Yes.
So there's like this feeling of extreme.
Yes.
The highest, the most.
Okay. Yes. And we have thought over here.
It felt very militaristic to me.
And maybe goes back to the Old Testament. There's a lot more correlation in the approach.
But also the music had a line version.
Yeah. The music, let's see, I'm trying to remember what I did with that prompt. I think what I did is I just tried to say, give me a very strong Arabic feel to it. So I wouldn't read into the music aspect of it too much because there's a lot, we don't know why it chose the choices it did. But I'm not an authority in Arabic music, so I can't tell you the flavors. So, yes, Vero.
I was struck by how much the radical conservative right-wing Islamic thought has corrupted what we just saw in much the same way that the radical right militaristic Christian thought has screwed up the New Testament.
Vero, you get the prize. I hope someone would ask that, would observe that. I will repeat it. Vero, keep me honest if I'm saying this correctly. The question is, I like that Muhammad, that version. The question is, why do we see certain versions of Islam that doesn't emphasize that aspect of God as much? And the reality is, talking to some Islamic scholars, the majority of Muslims are the focus on that kind of Muhammad. But it's the 5-10% that get all the publicity and get demonized and emphasized. But the more important question is, what aspects of our Christianity, when we look at the Bible as a text, Old Testament, New Testament, which verses do we emphasize and why? Why is the story we tell about God a God of wrath and judgment? Is that the God that we should be emphasizing? And is there an evolution to the story? And if so, how do we evolve in which verses that rise to the top? We make choices about how we read our scriptures. So do Muslims. So do Buddhists. And asking the question of, how are we aware of it? And are we choosing the right interpretation? Yes?
I just want, when you do your research, go to Wahhabism. Okay? Just as we say in our Christian tradition, I'm preaching to the choir, with the Protestants and Catholic starting from there's a rich history of different varieties of the Islamic world.
Yes.
It just so happens in the last 250 years, the Wahhabism, based in Arabia, has overtaken the narrative of what Islamic tradition is. Now we can talk about other narratives of our Christian tradition of who is taking the Christian narrative, who is dominating the Christian narrative, and we can have a discussion. There's an analogous across Islamic. I'm just saying Wahhabi. And I guess I have to count my blessings. I lived for 2 years in Levant. I will never say Middle East. That's a Western term.
There you go.
I taught mathematics in Turkey when we were all young children. And eye-opening, and I never felt more comfortable being in a jami or a mosque than any church I've been. To talk about a welcoming community.
Yes.
Now, yes, I was fortunate to live in Anatolia, Turkey. Right at the 6-Day War.
Yes.
June 6th.
So
enough. So anyway, Wahhabism is the dominant thing.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So let me close with this, okay? Because I know we're at time here. That's the second point, kind of hitting off what Vero just said. Who speaks for Christianity today? Is it Catholicism? Is it Protestantism? Which version of Protestant? I mean, which is it Orthodox? Which version of Orthodox? There are so many versions of Christianity, so many interpretations of the story. The same exact dilemma is in Islam right now. Which version of Islam has the right and authority to interpret? I personally really love Sufism. But that's because there's a large... Sufism is a really... wow. If you take Mahayana Buddhism, because by the way, there are different Buddhisms. Take Mahayana Buddhism, and you take Gnostic Christianity, and then you take Sufi Islam, and you put them in a Venn diagram. There is a whole lot of overlap, and it's what you saw in your paper. Okay, so last thing, and then I'm going to let you go. How did I select the text for what you see? Which ones did I choose? What was the criteria? Here's the answer. I selected the Sermon on the Mount first, from Matthew 5, 6, and 7. Then I also took the Gospel of John, by the way, because one of the books I wrote is on the Gospel. It's a theology of the Gospel of John. I think that author was trying to communicate. I also took Jesus' parables. I took, first of all, the Sermon on the Mount, the Gospel of John, my theology, my interpretation of it, and then I took Jesus' parables, interpreted in light of the other two. I took all that information, condensed it down to a theology, which you can do with AI very easy. You can condense documents and get down to the gist of things very quickly, easily. It's one of its strengths. And then I said, okay, I want you to look at Buddhism and Islam and tell me from the Qur'an and the teachings of the Buddha, what are the closest sayings that align with that center? And what you discover is that little locus of theology that you find in Jesus of Nazareth becomes the bridge between East and West and ties the two into a very large center of, we have a lot we agree upon. And here's the cool thing. Christianity evolved from Judaism. Buddhism evolved from Hinduism. If you were to take Hindus, Buddhists, Jews, Christians, and all versions of Islam, that's 80% of the world population. What if we started focusing on what we agreed upon and started shaping our view of God and the infinite and our most important questions from that core and center, rather than all the fringe things that we don't agree upon? What kind of world could we create? And that's a question an architect asks.
One that certainly would not be profitable.
All right, so Rob, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Brienne. I'm sure you can bring any other questions or follow-ups to Brienne afterwards. I'm sure she would love to talk to you more. We could go another hour probably.
Yeah.
This was such great feedback and conversation. So have a blessed day. Yeah, the lyrics. Oh yeah, that's a good thought. Brienne, do you want to advertise the music to the group or share the link? Is that something that's
Oh, you want the music?
so they can listen to it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the lyrics, the words are on the sheet that you have to. Oh, you want the experience? Okay. Let me think about that.
Oh, that's fine. Working on my resume.
There was one point in time where I called myself and that's what brought me here.
And there are 1 or 2 lines to watch. Scimitar,